Hello and welcome to the MCDFNL Footy Show for another week. Sean Kelly's my name. Sam Gower's with me as always. Sammy, welcome to the show again, mate.
Always a pleasure.
Starting to get a bit of a cult following we are as well, I hear, around
Yes.
the MCDFNL.
Yeah.
So every second person I speak to is talking about something or other we did on the show. So, mate, that's really good. Keep the feedback coming. It's fantastic to hear. And, of course, any feedback that you've got that will make this show better is what we're looking for, isn't it, mate?
It is. It's must-see viewing.
Must-see viewing. I like that phrase. Let's have a look straight away at last week's Round 3 action in the Maryborough Castlemaine District Football League. We'll start with the game against Talbot taking on Harcourt because this was a pretty good game in the end, Sammy. One that went right down to the wire. Harcourt 10-14-74, defeating Talbot 9-13-67. Matt Geary kicked 4 goals for Harcourt. Scott Newton kicked 3 with the multiples. For Talbot, Trent Barris and Nathan Smith kicked 3 and 2 goals respectively. Best players for the Lions, Mitchell, Mack, Geary, Newton, Williams and Felizesqui. I think I got that right, but if I didn't, Tim, I apologise, mate. You can ring in and let me know what's happening. Talbot's better players, Gunther, Smith, Barris, Sullivan, Clark of the David variety and Clark of the Richard variety. Mate, this was a cracker by all reports. Harcourt with a 5-2 last quarter coming over the top of Talbot, who looked like they were home and host.
Yeah, just kicked away in the last term. As I said, I thought Talbot might challenge Harcourt a bit, and they did. Matt Geary, 4 goals, class player.
Yeah, very
Got
much.
over the line.
Yeah, very much looking forward to seeing Matt Geary run around, hopefully, in the maroon, blue and gold of the MCDFNL in a couple of weeks up at the Tatura Showgrounds. Carisbrook taking on Denali on the weekend. A big win for the Redbacks, 25-19-169, defeating Denali 2 goals, 3-15. Nathan Wright kicking 8 goals up forward for Carisbrook. Luke Tracy 4. Ryan Hudson Morgan and Brendan Lloyd both kicked 2 goals, as did Jackson Bowen and Trav Cornwell. Just the 2 singles for Denali, Campbell and Manley kicking the goals for the Eagles. Best players for Carisbrook, Nick Wright, Tracy, Jeans, Nathan Wright, Hudson Morgan and Matty Bilton. And for Denali, Campbell, Raven, Thompson, Ward and Wellard, the better players. Pretty one-sided this one, mate. 10 goals to zip in the first quarter by Carisbrook really set the tone.
Yeah, Carisbrook proving their class. Interesting to see that Carisbrook coach Luke Tracy snuck forward against a bit of a weaker opponent. Just put himself up forward. Very sneaky by LT.
Nice to do. Good work, LT. Moving on, and it was Newstead 22-11-143, defeating Natty Biella before 5-29. Pretty good game by Newstead. They're on top all the way. They held Natty to just 2 goals in the opening 3 quarters of the game. Ben Kroll kicked 4 goals for Newstead, 3 Christmas and Wall, and 2 to Reese, Kerr and Gilboy. For Natty, all single goal kickers, Gifford, Fitzgerald, Ross and Trules, all kicking 1 goal each. Best players for Newstead, Gilboy, Kroll, Wall, Webster, Lovett and Hunter. And for Natty Biella, Gifford, Jardine, Banco, Weir, McClelland and Trules. Sammy, you're at this one, mate. Talk us firsthand. We know Newstead have been the buzz team of the year. How good are they in person?
Very, very good. They spread so well from stoppages. Link up well, run hard, do it all.
Daniel Christmas, just 3 goals this week. I suppose a little bit down on his normal output. But having said that, there was 11 different goal kicks for Newstead on the weekend, so I'm sure they can't be too disappointed with that.
No, Christmas was pretty well held by a Natty veteran in Chris Jardine, who did a pretty good job on him. He had pretty good delivery, so 3 goals, not too bad.
And it was just a case of Natty were overmatched on the day?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
So a good win by Newstead up against Natty Biella. How'd the twos go, mate?
We got rolled only by 4 goals, though.
How's your goal kicking?
A bit off again.
I hear you've missed 3 set shots in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that.
No worries, mate, anytime. Campbell's Creek taking on Maldon. A good win by the Bombers on the weekend, 19-12-126. Defeating Campbell's Creek 10-11-71. Birchall 6 goals for Maldon, 3 to Hayden Kelly and 2 each to Kyle, Birchall and Dixon. The Smith boys, Joel kicked 5 for Campbell's Creek. Sean kicked 3. Better players for Maldon, Birchall, Kelly, Fitzpatrick, Pascoe, Davey and Tommy Horn. And for Campbell's Creek, Smith, Keel, Berzicott, Nichols, Adamson and O'Toole. Good win by Maldon. Joel Smith back into the side. We thought this one may have been a little bit closer, especially with Lee Harrison not playing for Maldon. As soon as I saw those two, I thought, this could be quite a close game. But in the end, Sean Birchall stepped up, kicked the goals that Maldon required and got them over the line.
Yeah, pretty good for a bloke who's not overly big. Ex-league best and fairest, Sean Birchall, and shows why.
Yeah, I was going to say, kicking 6 goals in a game like that really put himself up for best player honours. Lexton 17-19, 121, defeating Trentham 5-8-38. Matthew Brown 6 goals, Robert Moseby 4, and Cohen Polton 2 for the Tigers. For Trentham, Luke Whitehouse kicking 3 goals for them on the weekend. Best for Lexton, Aspland, Pryor, Oliver, Brown, Moseby, and of course our mate Paul Phillips just slides himself into the best players as well. Well done, Bertie. For Trentham, Gray, Scoble, Drew, Whelan, Cole, and Whitehouse. Trentham probably a lot more competitive than a lot of people would have thought. Having said that, Lexton, 7 goals, 8 in the first quarter, could have really taken them to the sword. Paul Phillips was, of course, in the show last week and was a bit worried that they wouldn't be able to kick straight against Trentham, and that's obviously been the case.
Yeah, 17 goals, 19, a little bit off target. Matt Brown obviously on target with 6 goals.
4 less than what I thought he'd kick.
Yes.
I had him for 10.
Clayton Scobles.
Oh, you said 7, so you weren't bad.
Yeah, Clayton Scobles also snuck himself in the best players there.
Yes, no, well done. We're not gonna harp on coaches and the best players because we know that the coaches most of the time don't fill out the best players, and of course they're deserving of the honour to get in there. So
of course, yeah,
of course they are. Obviously they are, because the coaches are good players at the club, and it's of course the volunteers that fill out the best players. So we were a little bit hard on a couple of the coaches the other week. We didn't qualify that we were joking around with it, and it upset a few people.
It did.
But it's good to get the feedback, as we said. Get the feedback. We know you're watching. Feedback. Just give us everything you can. Navarre supporters can do exactly that because their team had a ripping win on the weekend. 18-22, 130, defeating Avoca 3-4-22. Zane Bigmore, another 5 goals up forward, giving them a real target this year. 4 to Ben Scott, 4 to Daniel Parkin, and 2 to Ash Driscoll for the Grasshoppers. Nathan Coghlan, the only multiple goal kicker up forward for Avoca with 2 goals. Best players for Navarre, Parkin, Flood, Bigmore, Scott, Driscoll and Redding. And for Avoca, Lockie Edwards, once again, their best player. Wiltshire, Ketchen, Howe, Dukes and Moser. Murray Boyd out with a shoulder injury in the first quarter of this match, and from all reports it kind of threw Avoca's structure for a 6.
Yeah, Murray Bond even.
Why did I say Murray Boyd? Because he used to play for Carlton, that's why.
Yes, Bondy's been pretty good the first 2 rounds for them, and take him out of their side, and maybe not as many targets up forward.
I suppose it's those kind of in-game injuries to the big players that hurt. If they don't come into the side, like you'd probably imagine Murray wouldn't play this week.
Yep.
But Avoca can structure around it. Adrian Pilgrim can drop himself forward, and you can have those structures and plan for it during the week. It's when it happens during the game, it just throws you into chaos.
It does, yeah. It throws the team right out of whack.
And some good work by Daniel Parkin as well. Also another one sneaking forward to kick a few goals on the weekend.
Yep. We won't mention that he's in the best and he's the coach, though.
You mentioned that, not me. Moving on, the last game for the weekend, and this was an absolute ripper. The Maryborough Derby out at Hedges Oval on the weekend. One of the biggest crowds we've seen for a home and away game in many a time in the MCDFNL. And it was Bushy, 15-10-100, defeating the Maryborough Rovers 10-10-70. A great win by Royal Park, their second for the season. Zach Stewart kicked 6 goals for the Tigers, 4 to Brendan Birch and 2 to Hamish Blake. For the Rovers, 2 goals each to Johnston, Kennedy, Sellers and Phillips. For Royal Park, their better players, Birch, Blake, Gray, O'Connor, Pye and Walker. And for the Rovers, Sellers, Brent Ritchie, Dean Ritchie, Johnston, Ryan and Styles. Sammy, you saw this one as well. Nothing in it at half-time, 9-5 apiece. From all reports, an absolutely fantastic game of football. The only problem for the Rovers was that half-time, they basically stopped after that.
Yeah, Corey Taylor, their assistant coach, went down with a bit of an ankle injury, and I think that threw him out a little bit. Heaped the pressure on Scott Sellers, and yeah, Bushy got the points.
They're 2 wins from 3 losses. We kind of took the lid off it a bit in round 1. We were a bit excited. Bushy getting the win. It was a big win. They hadn't had it in a while. Obviously, expectations, they got a real good touch-up at the hands of Avoca last week. They've come back in against Rovers this week. Do you think they're starting to find their level now? They're one of those teams that they probably, with all due respect to the guys down at Royal Park, won't challenge for finals this year, but they'll get their 5 to 6 wins and really annoy some sides this year.
Yeah, hopefully. They've been in the wilderness for a long time since they've had a 2-1 start. And I was pretty impressed with them on the weekend, actually.
Yeah, good signs for Royal Park, mate. We've got Interleague coming up in a couple of weeks as well, of course. 25th of May at the Tatura Showgrounds. The under-18s are playing the Ballarat Football League. The seniors are playing the Pecola and District Football Netball League. The senior 17 and under 15 and under netball on the day. Of course, all the details on the screen at the moment. This should be a pretty good day. Our interleague squad have already started their first couple of training sessions as well.
Good to see the boys getting into it early. I'm sure Wayne will have them up and firing.
We'll try and get Wayne Driscoll on the show in a couple of weeks as well, leading up to the interleague to get all of the lowdowns. And there's also going to be a media conference for the interleague that we will cover on MCDFNL TV. It might be on the Footy Show, but we'll definitely get it on the website. Mate, it's time to talk netball. We've got a very special guest coming in, one that you've dragged in for us, mate. Well done by you, from the Natty Bialaba Football Netball Club. Talana Buckley's going to come in and join us. So, mate, we better move over for a little bit and let Talana in and actually get someone in this week that actually knows how to talk netball.
We are improving every week, though.
We are, but we'll get an expert in. So we'll be back in a second and Talana will be with us. Welcome back to the MCDFNL Footy Show. Time to talk netball here on the Footy Show this week. Sammy's with me again. Welcome back, mate.
Thank you.
And also joining us this week from the Natty Bialaba Football Netball Club, a very warm welcome to Talana Buckley. Talana, welcome to the Footy Show.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Obviously, a little bit of coercion into coming down here tonight, and you've said that you're a little bit nervous coming on, so we'll try and make it as pain-free for you as we can.
Thanks.
Let's have a look at last week's netball results. We'll start with the game between Talbot and Harcourt out at Talbot on the weekend. It was a big win to the Lions. Harcourt 64, Talbot 17. Pearson 42 goals and Collins 22 for Harcourt were the standouts. Carisbrook against Denali, a good win by Carisbrook on the weekend, 35-19. Lovett 20 goals and Bandy 15 for Carisbrook. For Denali, Reid 15 goals was the standout. Rumpf, Jeans and Richards the best players for Carisbrook. Ash Lyric, Reid and Rose for Denali. The game between Newstead and Natty, of course the game that you played in on the weekend, Talana. Good win by Natty Bialaba coming up against Newstead side that had shown some form in previous weeks, 29-27. Talk us through it.
It was a tough game. Newstead have a strong centre court and we managed to get away, I think it was by 2 points to begin with, and we gained the lead in the third quarter, but Newstead held us back, definitely.
So 24 goals, Paige Douglas up forward, did a really good job for you?
Yeah, she's a really accurate goal shooter, she's amazing.
Fantastic. And whereabouts on the court did you play?
Wing defence.
So just making sure that their shooters obviously didn't get much of the ball?
Yeah.
Good stuff, and obviously job done if you're keeping Amanda Guthrie to 13 goals. It's a pretty good effort in that kind of regard. So good to see the Natty girls getting the victory on the weekend. Turning the page, Campbell's Creek taking on Maldon. It was Maldon 60 defeating Creek 11. Skinner, Nichols and Fleeton the best players for Creek. Horn, Avalon Crom and Lovell for Maldon. Lexton 80 defeating Trentham 9 on the weekend. Another big win for Lexton. Rachel Phelan 37 goals, Kimberly Roberts 24 and Lisa Donhart 18. The Browns, all of the goals for Trentham, all of their 9 goals. Rachel Phelan, Julia Coates and Kimberly Roberts the best for Lexton. Navarre had a good win against Avoca, 52-37. Jess Parry, 31 goals. Taylor Mason, 21. The Twin Towers, as you like to call them, Sammy, getting the job done for Navarre with Jess Williamson, Newton and Murphy amongst Navarre's better players. And in the Sunday game this week, it was Royal Park 48, defeating Maryborough Rovers 23. Johnson & Johnson, the combination up forward for Royal Park at 37 and 11 goals each, as you can see on the screen. Lang, Fitzpatrick and Steed, the best players for Maryborough Rovers. A good week of netball so far, and it's been an interesting season so far, Talana. We've seen some big wins, but at the other end of the scale, we've also seen some pretty close sides like Carisbrook, Harcourt have had some pretty close games, yourself and Newstead on the weekend. Is that how you're finding it at the moment? There might be a couple of standout sides, or is it just that there's a couple of weaker sides and they've been taken advantage of a little bit?
I think that might be the case. I think we really need to play out a few more games before we can really judge that. Yeah.
No worries. Obviously, we know you're a star. That's that's without saying. Who else in the Natty team should we be looking forward to seeing this year so far?
Ingrid, as always.
As always.
As always. And Ash she's an amazing coach and she's really stepping up this year. We've also got 2 Lane Frankie girls coming up from the juniors. Yes. And they have slipped into the team really well.
Beautiful.
Mentioning those 2 names there, Ash Edwards has taken over as coach from Ingrid. How have you found that transition?
She's amazing. She's really good. She's got so much experience. I mean, as does Ingrid, experience and expertise to bring to the table, and she's doing a really good job. Are you
saying that just because you want to make sure you're getting a game this week?
No, she's really doing a good job.
Good, just making sure. So having a look at this week's games across the MCDFNL netball, Talana, we'll get your opinion on how you think a couple of these games are going to come out. In Mother's Day round this week, Navarre taking on Lexington. This should be a beauty.
That would be a really good game to watch, actually. I think Navarre will pip them, though.
Trentham taking on Harcourt at Trentham. We know there's been a couple of struggles for Trentham on the netball court this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd have to go Harcourt.
Maryborough Rovers up against Newstead. Maryborough Rovers have been on and hot and cold so far this year.
Yeah, I think I will still go for Newstead, though.
Carisbrook taking on Avoca at Carisbrook. Another game that probably two evenly matched sides.
Very, very, probably Carisbrook.
Denali taking on Campbell's Creek out at Denali. Denali probably not as successful as we thought they would have been so far this season.
No, but they'll pip Campbell's
Bounce back this week.
So, yes.
And Malden taking on Royal Park on Saturday, the last Saturday game for this week. Another one that should be pretty good.
Yeah, I would have to go Malden.
On Sunday, we know who you're going to tip in this one. Natty Bialaba taking on Talbot. Why are you going to beat Talbot this weekend?
Because we're awesome. No, I think Natty will win, but I think we really have to watch out for Talbot in the coming years. With Judy Crisell as their coach, she's going to guide them, I think.
Yeah, we've heard some good things about the Talbot girls this year,
Yeah.
so it could be a pretty tough game on the weekend. So best of luck for it. Best of luck for this weekend and for the season. Thanks for coming on today as well, Talana. It wasn't too bad, was it?
Thank you.
Looked after you quite nicely. Sammy, it's time to talk footy, mate. It's time for, as we know, the most eagerly anticipated segment of the week, your footy tips, coming up right after this. Talana Buckley from the Natty Bialaba Football Netball Club. She did a pretty good job, didn't
She did. Smart girls.
Smart girl, yeah. It definitely makes us look quite average with our netball knowledge as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you get that, I suppose, two blokes talking about netball. It's probably never going to be an ideal outcome.
No, not at all.
So let's go with what we know and let's talk about footy, mate. Round 4, Mother's Day round this weekend in the Maryborough Castlemaine District Footy League. Navarre taking on Lexington, the first game that we're going to cover. We spoke about this being a beauty from a netball front. It shouldn't be too bad a game from a footy front either. Of course, Lexington undefeated. Navarre just the one loss at the start of the year to Carisbrook. But since then, they've really found some form.
Yeah, both sides were really up and going. Navarre, unreal by all accounts, and I'm going to back them to beat the Tigers.
Of course, Sammy's tips, write them down, do something. They'll be in the MCDFNL Advocate this weekend, but by the time you read them on Saturday afternoon, it might be a little bit too late to get stuck into him. So write them down now so that you've got a good couple of days' worth of ammunition if you do see Sammy around the streets of Maryborough over the next couple of days. But you're right, this is going to be a great game. I can't wait to see this one going about on the weekend. Trentham taking on Harcourt. We know Trentham struggling a little bit. However, they were competitive last weekend. They'll take some heart from that result. Clayton Scoble back into the side and doing a good job. But Harcourt, they're starting to get their gander up a little bit. They had a good win last weekend against Talbot, and they'll definitely start as favourites in this one.
Yeah, I think they'll carry their momentum over from last week and get the job done.
Moving along, Maryborough Rovers taking on Newstead. Rovers couldn't get the job done in the local derby for the first time in several years. It's not going to get any easier for them this weekend as they come up against arguably the form team of the competition in the Steaders.
Yeah, it'll get harder, I'd say, and Newstead to get the points easily.
Carisbrook taking on Avoca at Carisbrook. A night game this one, Saturday night style. So wherever you go to Saturday afternoon, you can come down to Carisbrook after it and watch this one. And this should be a pretty good game. Avoca, as always, will back themselves going down here. But again, Carisbrook are in some fantastic form this year.
They certainly are the reigning premiers. Always hard to beat at home. Always hard to beat under lights.
Yes, they don't lose in white jumpers very often, do the Brookers. You're tipping Carisbrook?
Yep.
Very good. Denali taking on Campbell's Creek up at Denali, and this is probably one of mine that'll be one of the matches of the round, I reckon, because Campbell's Creek they won their first game. They were not too bad against Malden on the weekend, whereas Denali probably haven't shown much form whatsoever this year. We know Campbell's Creek don't travel all that well, but they're probably going to go into an away game as favourites.
I'd say so, yeah. Joel Smith to kick the Creek to victory.
Yes, he's done a good job. He's kicked 15 goals in 2 games already this year as Joel. So it'll be a Smith watch this weekend for the Magpies. Don't you worry about that. Malden taking on Royal Park. This is going to be another ripper of a game at Malden. The Bombers in good form. Royal Park 2 from 3. Malden start favourites though, Sam?
Yeah, Malden favourites, Malden to win.
Zach Stewart's kicked some goals up forward for Royal Park though. He's kicked multiples in every game so far. He kicked 6 on the weekend, and he'll take a bit of stopping this week.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive on the weekend, the big boy, but I think Malden's got the tools to shut him down.
Sunday's game this week, just the one game, Sunday, Mother's Day game. How are you going to go playing footy on Mother's Day this week, mate? Your mum's not going to be a happy lady at all.
No, she's let me off the hook. I said I'd shout her a pie at the footy, but she's decided not to come.
If you can't go, if that's the case and you can't shout at the pie at the footy, do yourself a favour, take her to Red House Bakery in Maryborough and shout her a pie there because they are phenomenal.
They're excellent pies.
They are indeed, but let's talk about pies, more talk about footy. Natty Bialaba taking on Talbot on Sunday afternoon this week. This again is going to be another really good game. Take the Natty hat off for a minute, mate. How do you think this one's going to go?
Very close. Talbot's been ultra impressive, I reckon, in the opening 3 rounds. Natty, not so much, but I still think the Swannies to get the points.
Yeah, they're probably going to start as favourites this week, are the Swans. Brings us to the end of the footy show for another week, mate. Stellar job by yourself, as always.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Scotty Carey's not getting into this seat anytime soon at all.
No, he's been practising in front of the mirror at home, but
He has.
yeah, I don't think he's going to get it back.
Not just in front of the mirror at home too, just in the office down the way. He's been some political stuff this week, kind of giving me the wink and nudge, saying, "So me coming in today? I can slip in for you if you want." And I'm like, "No, it's okay. We've got our man."
Yeah, no good, Scott.
No good at all. We'll join you again next Thursday afternoon here on the MCDFNL Footy Show. It's a pleasure joining you this weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there for Sunday. I hope you have a great day. I hope your sons and daughters spoil you all day long. Until next week, bye from us.